Coming to you live from the palatial studios of PBJ Productions. Welcome to Patrick and BJ Talk Real Estate, where we talk about life, the universe, and everything as it relates to real estate. Hey everybody, it's BJ.
And Patrick.
Thanks for joining us again today. And hey, if you haven't, please take a minute, subscribe. We're over 100 subscribers. Our next goal is to get to 200 subscribers. Thank you very much. So thank you for your support. And again, take a minute, subscribe, like the video. That just helps us out and also keeps you up to date on all the content because we're pushing out a lot of content every week, right? So
absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and you don't want to miss anything. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. And then you'll be right on track with where we're going. And guess where we're going today?
We got a kind of a fun topic today, I think. And we've been speaking with lawyers throughout the last few weeks about things that are happening with property and property rights.
Yeah.
So, let's dive right in.
Let's dive in. So it comes to, in British Columbia, what the government is rolling out with regards to short-term rentals. I should stop for a minute before we continue on with that the federal government has announced that they are also making changes to how the taxes are viewed and applied and write-offs when it comes to short-term rentals.
So this is a proposed conversation right now.
Well, it's in the budget. It came out with the budget, so I don't know that they've actually put it to paper and talked about what it's going to look like.
Right, but in the coming year, I guess this is how CRA is going to be looking at.
That's what they're saying. But this was just based on the economic forecast that they just made here last week, and that. So that is in the works, and they think that somehow this is going to help with rentals, because these short-term rental properties are now going to become full-time rentals
with affordable housing rental and a market housing altogether.
Right.
I'm thinking, Well,
so if you remove the people's ability to invest and make money in real estate, surely that will solve the problems for the whole country's real estate issues.
So de-incentivizing private investment will improve whatever the situation is what they're going after.
You know what?
All I smell is an election coming. Provincially, federally, I'm gonna bash on our premier. It's like the guy's an interim premier seeking a second election, and all the changes that came down the road for. I'm only going to talk about housing and costs, and it's a big public issue for affordable housing.
Sure. Yeah.
And they made a bunch of changes last November, a year ago now, and now they're finding another scapegoat. To show, and we've commented on this before.
Yeah.
Well, at least they're doing something.
Yeah. So I'm going to come back to. Well, I've said this repeatedly.
Private property rights.
Repeatedly. Before we get to private property rights, repeatedly, if you want to lower the cost of housing, you need to make it easier for builders and developers to build and develop, and remove the bureaucracy. And they're talking about streamlining the process and everything like that. But there's a property in Victoria that 10 years it took them to get the approvals on it, and like over $1 million in 10 years, and you haven't even broken ground.
We talked about that, right? Like that's Wharf Street you're talking about, that property.
But guess what? Where do you think that $1 million is going to get recouped?
Somebody has to pay for it.
That's correct. It's going to get recouped by the buyer or from the buyer. So I'm going to stop because I know where that's going to go if we keep going. But let's talk about what's happening then. We did some brief stuff about what we think is happening with
the short-term rentals
in BC. What we did find out, we're speaking to a lawyer, and he confirmed that it has been given royal assent. And so May 1 is when it all rolls out and when all the fines roll out with it.
Right, and it was interestingly enough explained. We can pick up on the generalities, but like hearing it from a lawyer, it's really interesting how like the current or the past use that people believe that they were able to use a property in such a way is now taken away from the government. Not in those exact words.
Taken away by the government.
By the government.
Yeah.
So, and how this might be an infringement on private property rights on how people use their property or the intended use. So it'll be interesting. We'll probably go on for like 2 more years at least, as this may or may not go to court. This may or may not change.
Yeah.
I don't know. Don't take legal advice from me. I'm not a lawyer. But it'll be fun to watch just to see how that comes out.
And I think the bigger issue that we talked about is that let's use Greater Victoria area, okay? So let's say in Victoria, someone has a condo that they're using for short-term rentals in the Janyan, okay? Which is zoned appropriately. It's 100% built that way, zoned that way, et cetera, et cetera. So now, when you bought this unit, you bought it without parking because you're just using it as short-term rentals.
Yeah.
Now you're trying to sell a condo that's undersized because you bought a smaller one because you're not living in it. And so you're trying to sell a condo without parking, and it's slightly undersized.
Yeah.
And how's that going to help the market? Because if you have a condo that is a little bit bigger, has parking, in-suite laundry, all those things, its price is not going to come down because a property that was a short-term rental property is now on the market.
I don't think so. It's not comparable, right?
Well, that's why I'm saying it's
like
not the comparable property.
I don't think so. It's like you have a car over here, and then you have an electric scooter over there.
Yeah.
Right. Like they're just 2 different things.
Right.
They're going to be 2 different markets.
Yeah, for sure.
Do I think it's going to be an opportunity? This is we're not talking about property rights anymore, but I think it's going to be an opportunity for people still to buy them and not have that use.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be it's probably going to be a more affordable way to getting in the market.
Yeah.
Even though it doesn't have that use.
Yeah. However, I think I would stop right there and say that if someone, because people are going to have to figure out, well, wait a minute, if I have to rent this long term and my rent is this, I can't pay the mortgage.
No, I don't. I think that it's going to be running at a loss if that's the case.
Right.
Depending on how long ago that person has bought it.
Sure.
Yeah. Because since rents have still gone up drastically in the last few years, so maybe if you bought that property brand new, you might have got in early enough on the market that you can cover your bills. And I just want to throw this out there that buying real estate doesn't mean you always make money.
That's true. Yeah.
It's an investment. There is an element to risk.
Sure.
The government changing policies is one of those things, and that's not to say that we don't feel badly or we don't feel for people that have risked their savings, their life savings in some ways. Like this could be the retirement.
I was going to say this could be somebody's retirement that let's use realtors as an example. That there's a lot of realtors that's their retirement.
Yeah, they'll have a second property or whatever. Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and now they have to change how they use it. I know a friend of mine has a home with 3 suites in it. The home was designed for Airbnb, right?
Yeah.
With grounds and the gardens and all that stuff. Well, what does that mean for him?
Yeah, well, maybe I guess my suggestion would be, and this is not in no way a guarantee, is like approach the city and ask for a rezoning. Ask for a rezoning for commercial use for accommodation, and then treat it like a real business and stuff. I don't know, maybe right.
It's
a big challenge. I don't think anybody has the clear answer for all of this.
Yeah, and I think the other thing is I don't think this is going to solve the problem.
At least they're doing something.
Oh man, that's like saying I'm going to eat healthy, but at least I'm eating some pizza. It may not be healthy, but there's vegetables on this pizza.
Yeah, what is it? You can't outrun a bad diet.
You can't
something like that.
You can't outtrain a bad diet.
You can't outtrain a bad diet. So, they can keep making the government can keep making changes, infringing on the use of property when, however people bought it.
Sure.
With the allowable uses. But I don't think it's funny. I'm not going to pick on any municipality. It's funny, they talk about affordable housing and they get elected for those kind of things, like, oh, we're going to do something, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they raise the development cost charges.
Sure.
So the charge that gets passed on to the buyer.
Yeah. And so that makes me think of something else too.
Yeah.
Is the whole NIMBY thing that drags out the process.
Yeah.
So if we want to try and streamline the process, we need to help educate the people that are living in those areas. Or that same thing. Just tell them. Well, it doesn't matter what you think.
Okay, hold on a second. So a NIMBY is an acronym for not in my backyard.
Yeah.
We'll go on some fun.
Not in my backyard.
Not in my backyard, right? So they've been nicknamed here in Victoria, at least as far as I know. And for fun, I've heard a couple more. There's banana, if I can remember what that is. Like build absolutely nothing anywhere. I can't remember exactly. Well, it was something along those lines. But my favorite one is cave.
Okay.
Cave people. Please don't take this the wrong way. This is for fun, and we're just tongue in cheek. Citizen against virtually everything.
Oh my.
Okay, moving on, right? So, but there's that element, and wait a minute, if you're Oak Bay, or whatever affluent community, and then the government comes around and tells you, you know what, we need to have affordable housing. I got an election coming up next year. I'm going to do everything.
So we're
going to set limits.
Right, a 12-story condo.
We need to have 600 units in Oak Bay. They've replaced tear down houses. They have finally, after 10 years of fighting the municipal government, they approved a one apartment building, condo building, whatever it is. They do 65 new builds in a year.
Yeah.
And now they want 600 by whenever.
Right.
So let's set the limit so high that the municipalities won't be able to reach it. Maybe Victoria will because of high density big towers.
Yeah.
But there's still a height limit in Victoria because it's an airport.
Yeah.
And then not giving them the money later when they don't achieve it. But then how does Oak Bay have how is Oak Bay obligated to solve affordable housing in an affluent community?
Yeah, well, they'll tell you they're not.
The one thing is that what we were at a city council thing, and a lot of the businesses were talking about, well, where do the workers live?
Mm-hmm.
It's very expensive. It's hard to get them. It's hard to keep them because of the cost of housing. In Victoria, for example, and this probably applies to a lot of places, the hospitality industry has got together and invested into an apartment building for their employees in Victoria. So, stop looking around for answers when the answers are right in front of us in some ways. I know that can't be done with everybody, but there has to be, the private sector is going to solve the problem.
Well, and I'm not, I guess here's the thing, I'm not against the government being involved, but I'm against, draconian measures without consultation and without actually listening to the feedback and looking at options.
Oh, so you're not used to being in BC yet?
I guess. I grew up in Alberta, for those of you who don't know.
I'm from Ontario, but it's not much different. Right? They'll change rules on us, and then they'll claw back after their feedback, right? So so maybe that's a bit of a rant today.
There's no perfect solution or situation, but you can tell, I think, that we are not big fans of the move to remove short-term rentals. And my part of it is I am not for the involvement of the government in people's affairs of just how they run business and life in terms of supporting themselves or their families. Because that's what a lot of these are, right? So that's my take on it. There's nothing personal here for me with I like this person or not that person or whatever. With all the government officials and everything like that, I don't have any issue with them. I appreciate that they're serving and giving, regardless of what we think. I appreciate their service and that they're giving their time and energy. And it's a tough go, right? Because everybody, someone's always unhappy.
You're in the spotlight. It's a very tough job,
right? And someo's always unhappy. So I get that, but I think you guys see where we're coming from on this as well. So I think that's just our thoughts on what's going on, because it just got again, we just had this meeting with the lawyer this week, so we're a little bit more informed of what to expect. And
I wish we just had somebody tell us the truth. Just tell us the cold hard truth. It's expensive to be in BC. It's the bring cash province. That's what it stands for, right? Like, not everywhere is expensive. It's desirable to be in BC.
Sure.
Between BC and Ontario, most expensive provinces. Are we gonna keep being promised that one person or another person is gonna fix affordable housing? We're in an affordable housing crisis, which is, stop calling it a crisis. It's chronic. It is what it is. It's expensive to be here. It's also very nice to be in British Columbia in many different parts. It's desirable. I'll stop right there.
Okay,
that's
well,
enough. That's enough of that.
I think we'll wrap it there. Thank you for joining us today. If you haven't, please go ahead and subscribe. You don't want to miss any episodes, so subscribe so you get all of them. And thank you all for your support and all of the comments. If you have any thoughts about this, put it in the comments. We'd love to hear what you have to say and what your thoughts are. And they don't have to agree with us necessarily, but just what are your thoughts about what's coming down the pike here with short-term rentals?
Yeah, thanks for giving me a chance to rant a little bit. So I don't mean to do that, but I get carried away sometimes. But thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.
See ya.